So somebody once told me in the very beginning of this is that you have to go and find the people that are thinking, not just thinking outside of the box, but are getting rid of the box completely. You can find the scientists, you can find the clinicians, you could find the researchers that are throwing out the old playbook and that are trying new things. And that's who you got to find, because you have to find somebody or a group of people who are willing to take a risk, because something that's not diagnosed and that doesn't have a treatment now, there's diagnosis and there's treatment out there, and you just got to find the group of people that are relentlessly trying new things, but also have the care and quality of life of our family and our daughter first and foremost in their mind. So when quality of life and discovery and treatment and science all merge to become this undescribable phenomenon, is what you just have to trust that exists. Find the people that are doing something that no one's ever done before and that can change the world. And getting kids access to the testing that they need can change the world. It really can. And I say this number a lot, but if there are 7,000 rare diseases that we know of, there are 265 foundations that exist for those diseases that exist to drive science, and 80% of those diseases are genetic. It's irresponsible not to find out earlier what these 160,000 people have. They have these very long periods of time where they don't know what's happening to their kids. And it's not just going in and getting a blood test or going in and getting an evaluation. It's very painful things that you have to do in order to prolong this process, where just one test, if somebody was granted access to it, they could get rid of the diagnostic odyssey. It doesn't even have to be in our lexicon, because you go in and there's even inclination that there could be a disease-causing mutation that's the cause of all of this. The first thing should be whole genome sequencing. So this should be the first move. And by doing that, 80% of these kids these people will not have that sometimes decade-long diagnostic odyssey, this journey that people need to be on board from day one, from diagnosis all the way through, the therapeutic outcome. Somebody needs to be on board with that family from day one. A group of people, and we're lucky enough that we have that. People like the Broad, people like Wendy Chung, people like my wife. I mean, we couldn't do any of this without my wife. She's working nonstop, and she's a present mother, and that's another thing that no other kid has. What we have at home, and that's where it starts.
What's on your wish list? What are the next steps?
Well, what's on my wish list is, treatment right away, that we've found something that we can go right into clinical trial. Short term, it's that we can maybe just have an idea of the function and structure of the gene, and we can start making stem cells, and we can start thinking about these therapeutic strategies and acting on them and finding a discovery and saying, okay, it's time to give this a shot. And we're not really going to be satisfied. And people ask me, have you accomplished what you've accomplished in a year? And it kind of baffles me when somebody asks that question, because we're really not going to be satisfied until we're sitting in the doctor's office having that first round of treatment that has been discovered by people far more qualified and informed than I am about how to go about doing that. That's when we'll be satisfied. And so the next the goal is treatment, and to always be thinking about that goal. The minute you stop thinking about the possibility of treatment is the minute that that inactivity can stifle progress, because you always have to believe that there is a treatment and that there is a possibility of cure, and that there might be that day where Susanna stands up and runs across the room. And if she doesn't, it's okay, because she's still Susanna. And she's always going to be this incredible person. But maybe she could be, she could get around differently. She could communicate differently. But it's a really hard, you kind of grow to, it's hard to say, but I would kind of miss the disease a little bit, because it would take away from this girl who I've gotten to know for 3 years, and it would change her. But that's a really weird way of thinking about rare disease. But once, the goal is to find treatment right away. It's the only goal. Always has been from day one. Find a cure my kid. But don't lose her in the way. I do have to say one thing, and that is that I'm not sure if when it came down to it, if I could say, Susanna's going to be the first one, go and try it. I think I could, but imagining that when it comes game time and there's a treatment and there's a cure, that idea of saying, okay, here she is, let's see if it works. That's a hard thing to think about, but it's what gets you up every morning is thinking about that day and that cure, that day where you could be sitting there and
It's good to have a choice.
Yeah, right. It is good to have a choice. Being active in your own care, in your own treatment, and being active in how your data is collected is really important, and being active in who has access to it is important, because if you just sit there and let policy dictate how your care can be accomplished, then it's up to somebody else, and it needs to be up to you. You own your data. If I think that somebody in a different country with different regulations and different policies is capable of finding Susanna a cure, I should be able to bring my data to that person and say, here, look, these wonderful people at the Broad Institute or anywhere gave us this wealth of information. What can you do with it? And then that person then did the same thing around the world to somebody else, and all of a sudden the entire scientific community is working with the same consistent set of data and the same consistent goal in mind. And it's coming together to create something that is far stronger than if people try to do it on their own. And those entities, research, medicine, and the patients coming together to create something that's far greater than one person could ever accomplish. It's the only way that we're going to find a cure, is by everybody collaborating and everybody thinking about the patient, about the family, about my daughter. If that is, Wendy Chung said to us in the very beginning, she said, I will do this for you, and I will be your Sherpa and walk you up this mountain that is seemingly insurmountable. And I will do it, and the only thing I need in return is a calendar on the wall with the kids' pictures on it. Yeah, that sort of idea that the only thing that matters is your kid. You know, having a clinician and a researcher who get up every day to and just know that their mission is just as strong as yours, and that's rarer than any disease, I think, to find that person. And we're lucky because we found it. And we found it in Wendy, and we found it in the Broad and you guys and people who want to have her picture on the wall when they get to work in the morning.
Why do you think these guys, and I say these guys because I don't do the research, why do you think they need you and they need your daughter and they need other families involved in these projects?
I think that other families need to be involved in these projects because the idea of community and group, again, is that nothing can be accomplished without a strong core of people. Absolutely nothing. You have to be able to collaborate with other people. You have to be able to empathize with somebody. And I think empathy and community are the driving force behind everything, and hopefully behind a cure and treatment too. If we can empathize and communicate and come together, we'll find a cure and we'll find treatment. We will. I just know it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Can I ask one last thing of you, Josh? Or Luke, sorry.
That's okay.
Josh,
Yeah.
I
I know a couple of Joshes and nice guys.
I was talking to a Josh earlier today. Can you look right at Hayley and give me my name is Luke Rosen.
Yeah.
My wife and I co-founded and I forgot the name of the foundation.
Yeah.
The name of the foundation. And just give me a short mission statement. Why you guys do what you do.
Wow. My name is Luke Rosen, and my wife Sally and I founded KIF1A.org, which is a nonprofit, and we have one mission, and that's to find treatment for every kid living with KIF1A. And along with that, we have a mission of getting every single kid access to the genetic testing that they need in order to find a group like ours and to become a member of a group like ours. And we want to give everybody the opportunity to find a community. And I'll do another one too.
That was good.
Yeah. I feel like I'm starting to cry at the end again. My God.
Out of curiosity, did you have any trouble accessing literature about KIF1A?
Yes, we did. We had trouble accessing literature in the beginning, and here's why. This is something that we had to pay $35 on certain publications and certain platforms just to be able to get the PDF of the entire study. So if we wanted to read about how the study ended, and we had to pay money to get that PDF. And at first, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, we need lit. We can't find anything about the disease. We'll hemorrhage the money that could have been used to really start the foundation in certain ways that we weren't able to start because these little costs they don't need. I mean, we should be able to get every single paper written about the disease without having to pay $35 on PubMed for.
How many papers do you think you paid for?
There are 16 papers about KIF1A when Susanna was diagnosed, and I think we paid for about 8 or 9 of them, so for over 50% of them. Yeah.
It's like a whole other video.
From what you've seen in your visit to the Broad, is this your first time here?
This is my first time at the Broad.
What did you see? What was your impressions of the day and the visit and the people you spoke with?
So I saw at the Broad from day one, from the second that Hayley wasn't just willing to talk to us, but was enthusiastic about talking to us and was welcoming and, again, empathetic, and knew that, had the same enthusiasm that you have to have in order to have a successful group of people in anything, and that's knowing that at the end of the day, there's going to be a treatment and there's going to be a cure, and we're gonna help the kids. And I came to the Broad and I saw a group of people that already existed, like this building teeming with people who knows that there's treatment somehow, and that, you know, are relentlessly working to find that treatment and to bring people together and to take people like me, a father who is definitely not a molecular biologist or a doctor, but is playing a part in finding that treatment. And that, well, I hope it exists other places, but I'm glad that I was able to find it in the Broad and in Hayley. Thanks.
Is your daughter in the Rare Genomes Project?
No, because Susanna's not in the Rare Genomes Project because she's already diagnosed. That's
Oh,
the,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't
That's
even
for-
think, I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that, yeah.
yeah,
'Cause, yeah,
yeah.
'cause that
But-
was,
But other families that don't have a genetic diagnosis.
Yeah, and families that come to us and say, you know, we've heard about, or we have seen what your daughter and what other kids in the group and other families in the group are going through, and how they present, and how they walk, and how they talk, and how they laugh, and how they play, and they say, I think that my daughter might be similar. The first thing I say is there any chance we could finally figure out a way to get you genetic testing? And the Broad has said, yes, let's take those people into our community and either get them tested or give them an opportunity to play an active part in their care somehow. But it's important that they get tested. Yeah, and thank you guys for taking on kids who need it, kids like Susanna.
anything else? Anything else you can think of? Anything we haven't covered?
One thing is that while disease-specific groups are so important and are important for driving science and making progress and making sure that there's always something happening, disease-specific groups are really important, but there's an entire rare disease community. And so it's important to have foundations that are very specific about our disease, but it's really important to have a rare disease community that is strong and that is resourceful and that doesn't exist just to serve one disease. It's really important to have that, and I think that we're slowly getting there, and that there is a rare disease community that is there to support people and is there to give resources and to point families in the direction of places like the Broad, because if you're a new foundation with a new disease, you are, at least I was in completely uncharted waters, and Sally and I kind of relied on this growing group of other parents who have rare diseases to say, hey, try that option, or talk to that person, or call this phone number, or look at this website, because you can't do that. If you're a brand new foundation without any resources, there has to be a strong rare disease community, and there has to be people working to foster that community and to grow that community. And that's really important, to not lose sight of the overall goal of knowing that, yeah, this sucks for us. Maybe we can make it less sucky for, another kid by trying harder, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah, an entire community is really important, not just one little community, because we might just have 48 kids in our group, but there are 7,000 rare diseases So there are 7,000 other clubs that are out there that people belong to that it's important to communicate with.